Hello everyone and welcome to our final project. Under the U.S. Department of State and the Aspen Institute Stevens Initiative, the Institute of International Education conducts the Harnessing Innovation Through Virtual Exchange, also called HIVE project, a program that aims at creating stronger peer-to-peer relationships between universities in Egypt, Lebanon, Morocco, the West Bank, and the United States. So as part of our requirements for our professional communication class with Dr. Agnaou, we were called upon to participate in this virtual exchange with students from Carnegie Mellon University. So we conducted 4 virtual exchange sessions and had the ability of discussing several topics, including the one that we chose as our final project, which is that of gun violence. So this video is our final project and it will entirely talk about what we learned about gun violence through the HIVE project. So thank you very much for watching.
To understand why the Second Amendment has provoked so much debate, we have to go back to the earliest days of the US. There were 2 major political groups, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. Federalists believed in a strong central government. The Anti-Federalists, fearing a monarchy, favored strong state governments. Federalists believed that a strong standing army was necessary to defend against foreign attacks. But Anti-Federalists believed that those attacks would be prevented by state militias who could be called upon in time of national crisis. They were wary of large military forces. James Madison had all these groups in mind when he drafted the Second Amendment. The Constitution allowed for the raising of a federal army, but the Second Amendment was introduced as a compromise to make sure that this federal army was not going to be turned against the citizens, striking a bound power between the state and the federal government. It was about enabling citizens to be part of a collective militia that will avert the use of the nation's military at home. Gun ownership evolved as the country expanded and different interpretations of the Second Amendment have developed over time. Justice Anthony wrote that the Second Amendment guaranteed an individual right to possess and carry weapons in case of confrontation. The court did acknowledge some limits, such as firearm possessions by felons or in places such as schools or government buildings. The Second Amendment nowadays is interpreted as protecting the right to own guns independently of pertaining to military forces. Moreover, our friend Mike from the CMU University defends this idea.
Now, we're going to talk about gun violence in the United States. Given its lack of gun control laws, the United States is facing gun violence as a recurrent phenomena that most media are talking about and that is widely debated on the political scene. Shootings and mass shootings constitute a huge issue in the United States.
By the Pew Research Center, support for gun control over the protection of gun rights in America is highest among 18 to 29 years old. While it is difficult to know exactly how many guns civilians own around the world, by every estimate, the US, with around 270 million, is far out in the front. The Las Vegas attack was the worst in recent US history, and 5 of the shootings with the highest number of casualties happened within the past 10 years. The Parkland, Florida attack is the worst school shooting since Sandy Hook in 2012.
Although there are different types of gun violence, school shootings are considered to be particularly devastating. The recent shooting in Florida school has not only caused a lot of victims, but has also sparked a great controversy and reinforced the dilemma that characterizes the American political scene with regards to whether or not more gun control laws should be implemented. As we have discussed through our HIVE project, there seems to be a disparate media coverage of gun violence influenced by political affiliations. So while certain media deem that the issue is the lack of gun control, other media reinforce the mental illness discourse and state that it is the non-diagnosis of mentally ill individuals that spark this phenomena of gun violence. Certain scholars argue that a misguided focus on the relationship between mass shootings and mental instability could foster mental health stigma without significantly reducing gun violence. Following these mass shootings, and particularly those in schools, a lot of protests erupted in several states throughout the United States. Students in particular wanted to voice their concerns with regards to the increase of insecurity they felt while at school. According to Mike DeBacco, one of the HIVE project participants from the American side, the media non-Americans are exposed to are more biased towards gun control and unrepresentative of all American views. Therefore, the question is, why is gun control controversial in the United States? The answer is that it seems to be a dilemma between balancing freedom with security. According to our HIVE discussions and interviews, for some, guns are not necessarily seen as the cause for violence. Guns are believed to be necessary for self-defense, both from others and from the government itself. And gun control is seen to have no deterrence effect on mentally ill people. But for others, lack of gun control promotes gun violence. Freedom to buy guns jeopardizes national security, and gun control can have deterrence effects on potential shooters. Now, we are going to move on to gun violence in Morocco in order to understand both how it is regulated and how it is perceived by the population at large. Following our HIVE discussion, we further discovered that in Morocco, the general public opinion supports gun control and doesn't seem to see carrying guns as part of personal freedom, but rather as part of insecurity.
Moving on to future prospects, there is a need for stringent control over the purchase of military-style weapons, and there is many dangerous people cannot be identified before they injure or kill others. We might consider more persistent restriction and more careful checks on gun purchases by adults younger than age of 25. And finally, heavier penalties should be implemented for illegal uses.
Hi, I am Sabrine from Akhawayn University. I have participated in the HIVE exchange program. It was really beneficial, especially that we had different perspectives about the topic of gun violence, and I would like to encourage other students to participate in such cultural exchanges in the future.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayda. I have been glad to participate in the HIVE project, and because I gained many insights thanks to the exchanges we had with the American students related to the gun violence issue that we have talked about in this presentation. It has been interesting to know that law can change not only in a textual perspective, but also in how it is interpreted according to the country's need. And thank you.
Hello, my name is Salma. I am one of the AUI students from Morocco that took part in the HIVE project alongside students from Carnegie Mellon University. So I think that one of the most important things that we've learned while discussing several topics, but more particularly gun violence, is how this topic is very nuanced, how it can be seen from different perspectives, and how there are convergent and divergent views on it, both within the US and within Morocco. And so it was a very fulfilling exchange that we had, and I think that through the HIVE project we were able to sort of discuss matters that are quite sensitive, that we usually wouldn't necessarily talk about to people from different backgrounds and different cultures, given the sensitivity of the topic. But I think that this was a very great experience, and I think that we can use this in order to further reinforce cooperation between Morocco and the United States through encouraging both the Moroccan youth and the American youth to further exchange culturally and debate ideas, such as was done through the HIVE project.